Hi, did you watch Indiana Jones growing up and think, I want to do that someday? Are you looking to turn your passion for the past into a career? Well, you've come to the right place. My name is Rachel, and I've studied and worked as an archaeologist. Today, I'm going to take all of that experience and use it to tell you the basics of how to become a professional, paid archaeologist. This is a career that is highly romanticized by film and TV, which leads people into thinking it's something it's not, i.e., treasure, exotic travel, fighting bad guys. I'm here to help you decide if this is actually something you want to pursue, along with giving you the real story of what it takes to become an archaeologist. I'll be talking about qualifications, where to look for a job, as well as answering a lot of the common questions that I tend to get in comments across all of my social media and also from people in real life. This video is going to be an introduction to give you a starting point. My channel, Inside Archaeology, is full of other videos that I've been making for years on writing CVs, what equipment you need, pros and cons of the profession, salary, and more. They are all a part of my Getting a Job in Archaeology playlist, which you can find linked just up here. If perhaps a career change isn't feasible for you, I also have a video on how to get involved via volunteering. There's going to be links to everything throughout the video and then also in the description. Before we begin, don't forget to take a few seconds to subscribe or like to help support me in keeping the channel going and show the algorithm that people are interested in real archaeology, not pseudoscience. If you want to take it further and actively support Inside Archaeology in our efforts to push back against sensationalism and conspiracy theories, all super thanks, Ko-fi donations, and profits from our Archaeology Redbubble sales go back into improving and promoting the channel. You can find links to our Ko-fi and Redbubble in the description. Okay, everyone, let's dig in. Now, this video might seem a bit familiar, as my very first video on my channel from 7 years ago is called Preparing for an Archaeology Career. That was before I started writing scripts, had a decent camera, or knew anything about editing, and was at the beginning of my archaeological career. Now, I'm a little bit older, a tad wiser, I have a better quality camera, and a few years of perspective on the topic, so I thought it was time to revisit and do an update. First off, there are many different ways to become an archaeologist, just as there are many different jobs that involve archaeology. Today, I'm going to be talking about the most traditional route into the job that has the most employment opportunities: commercial archaeology, also known as cultural resource management, or CRM, in the US and Canada. The reason this video is not going to cover the path to becoming a professor or university lecturer of archaeology, besides the fact that I do actually have a separate video on this topic, is because those jobs require a lot more time and money spent in school, they're highly competitive, and they're not really a growing industry. Universities actually seem to be going the opposite way and downsizing their departments to the absolute minimum in terms of staff. Realistically, it's not the fastest or easiest way to become an archaeologist. Commercial archaeology / CRM is an industry present in many countries, although how it works will be slightly different depending on the laws of that place and how its archaeological heritage is protected by them. For example, in the UK, which is where I live, in order to build something like a new housing division, a contractor has to apply for planning permission from the local council. If that division is in the middle of somewhere like London, which has been occupied by humanity for over 1,000 years, chances are the council will come back saying that in order to build, the contractor has to employ archaeologists to ensure that any remains or heritage on their site are found, recorded, and removed before construction. After excavations are finished, the results are written up, given to a client and a council as a report, and then occasionally, when they found some exciting stuff, the results might get made into a proper book or a monograph, as we call it, that you can buy. It's a similar situation in the US, Canada, and most of Europe. If you want to learn more about how it works in specific countries, I'd suggest you check out my Ask an Archaeologist series, which features career interviews with archaeologists that ideally work all over the world. I'm working on it, getting more people from different places, but right now there's lots of stuff with people from the US, Germany, India, Canada, and more. All commercial archaeologists are paid to do their work, and when it involves travel, which it usually does because you can't bring an archaeological site to you, you will have your accommodation and food paid for as well. I do also have a video with more details on pay and the different scales of pay that you can expect. I'll cover the travel part more just in a little bit. So, how would you go about becoming a commercial archaeologist? Well, the traditional route that we're going to cover today is to study for an undergraduate degree in archaeology or anthropology if you're in the US at a university. In my experience, where you study does not particularly matter, as companies won't care if you went to Oxford, Harvard, or Cambridge. What they will prioritize in a graduate is the amount of fieldwork experience that you have. For example, my undergraduate program required me to do 6 weeks of fieldwork as a part of getting my degree. It was an actual class. I ended up doing about 6 months across my degree because I really enjoyed doing it. Additionally, the specialty of your degree at an undergraduate level shouldn't really affect you when you're working too much, as the broad concepts across the discipline are the same. I have a degree in Near Eastern and Classical archaeology, so Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, Rome, but I had no problem working in Canada and the UK. Practical experience gained via volunteering for your professors as a student will also benefit you down the line. Field schools are a useful way for seeing if you're actually cut out to do field work because it's not for everyone. You don't want to spend your time and effort and money on doing an entire degree and then finding out that you actually don't like the job afterward. A big question I get from a lot of people is, do you need a university or college degree, or is my existing degree transferable? Again, I have a video on this topic. That's going to be something I probably say a lot in this video. Broadly speaking, I'd say the answer is you probably do need a degree. Although alternative pathways like apprenticeships or training schemes are something that I've seen a bit of implemented on specific projects, it's not something that I would say is commonplace. And if you look at job adverts nowadays, they will say that having a degree is one of the qualifications they expect you to have. There are always some people who started off volunteering and then decided to kind of go on and work. But by volunteering first, that means they had field experience. And I'd say that they're the exception and not the rule. In addition to the fact that most jobs will expect you to have a degree, it's also useful to get one because it gives you the foundational basics that you need for theory, critical thinking, and understanding how archaeology works as a science. It will teach you writing and research skills that you'll need if you want to progress beyond just doing fieldwork. Lastly, it will expose you to the multitudes of different pathways in archaeology you could pursue, like artifact analysis, geophysics, linguistics, survey, etc. And then from there on, you can decide where you want to go after. Almost every commercial archaeologist will be expected to start their career at the bottom of the ladder doing fieldwork as a Almost every commercial archaeologist will be expected to start their career at the bottom of the ladder, doing fieldwork as a field technician or site assistant. Gaining experience and developing your skills is one of the most common ways that people then end up moving up the ladder. The more years of experience you have, the better, basically. One of the best things you can also do to get a bit of a leg up is get your driver's license. This makes you a lot more employable than someone who depends on others to get onto site. Other common questions I come across are, do I need a master's or a PhD? Can I skip fieldwork and go straight to working with artifacts? Will this give me an opportunity to travel across the world to work? To answer the first question, I personally do have a master's, and I have worked with people in commercial archaeology who have PhDs. But do you need them? I wouldn't really say so. It might help you progress a bit faster, but that really depends on what your PhD is in. For example, if you studied Egyptian New Kingdom hieroglyphics, that's not going to transfer really well to working on ceramic material in the UK. If you instead had a PhD in prehistoric British ceramics, you might perhaps be able to get a job working in artifacts right away, but there are no guarantees. Jobs working solely with artifacts are few and far between, they're competitive, and you would be expected to have a good amount of experience to get them. As for travel, as a commercial CRM archaeologist, you will travel and work in the country that you live in. Traveling to work internationally can happen, but I would say is not the norm. It involves visas and is much more expensive for an employer. A company would prefer to pay someone local. That's just capitalism for you. If you think about it, it's not economically sound to fund archaeologists to hop from country to country, excavation to excavation. The constantly changing local language that you would have to use for all of your recording alone would be a pretty difficult barrier to overcome. That being said, I do know archaeologists who travel from the US/UK to Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries to work on projects there because those places don't necessarily have the archaeological infrastructure or staff in place to do it for themselves. I only know of one person who has traveled to multiple different countries to do commercial archaeological work. Academics will potentially travel to dig in a specific country where their expertise is focused, and also to conferences or conduct other research. I'll also say that I am personally traveling on a cruise this spring, giving talks on archaeology as a part of the cruise entertainment package. But I won't be digging, and it's not a regular paid job. I'm receiving the cruise in exchange for my talks and taking a holiday at work in order to do it. It's not the kind of thing that I would rely upon as a year-round income because I'm not actually being paid. I'm just receiving something in exchange. Another thing that you should be aware of when considering this career is the fluctuation in the availability of work. Again, this depends on where you are, but generally, in my own personal experience and those of the people that I have spoken to, I have found that starting out, you have less guarantees for work and having it year round. But as you build experience, these opportunities are more numerous and things get better. In Canada and parts of the US, it's not common for fieldwork to happen over the winter when the ground is frozen. The field season is usually April to November or December, so people often end up doing temporary work somewhere else when they're off season. In the UK, fieldwork happens year round, but only lasts for as long as that particular excavation or project. So you'll only get a contract for that duration. Sometimes those contracts are for 4 weeks, sometimes they're 2. Sometimes you find out on Friday if you have work on Monday, or on big infrastructure projects, it can be measured in months or years. Companies do try to have projects lined up to offer continuous work, but there's no guarantee of this or that they will have enough work for everyone. In that case, they generally try to keep on the people with the most experience, who they already know, who've maybe worked for them before, and who can drive. In order to make ends meet, this means people will often have a few different companies that they bounce between to find work. For example, in 1 year, I ended up working for 4 different companies. Eventually, you might get offered a permanent contract. This can happen at the lowest field technician or archaeologist level, but it's more common as you move up to roles with more responsibility. For me, it took about 3 years of work before I was offered a permanent contract, and that wasn't a permanent contract doing field work. That was a job that I applied for that was in the office. One of the most important things you will want to know is, can I make good money at this? Archaeology is no longer just a hobby for rich aristocrats, but starting wages are not great. And like many other sectors, they haven't seen much growth in the past decade. The work is chronically underfunded/priced, as a lot of the time companies will race to the bottom to build for projects, and that race and that low amount of money that they're bringing in is passed on to the workers. I've heard that wages are better in the US, but that's hard to know because there isn't a single pay standard that we all stick to, and things are obviously calculated differently. They're in different currencies, etc. I left working in the sector because I wanted more money and I had an opportunity elsewhere. A common complaint is that the mid-tier work, so supervisors, project officers, their kind of jobs don't seem to really scale up proportionally in salary to the amount of responsibility you gain when you do them. Management roles are obviously better paid, and this is probably what most people are aiming for career-wise. Supporting a family on an archaeological salary alone can be really difficult, but I'd say that's true of a lot of the jobs out there today. Definitely look into salaries in and around where you live before you make the leap to see if it's feasible for you. If you do decide that this is something that you're going to pursue, you might want to know, where do I look for a job? In this case, a Google search of archaeology jobs in your area can be quite helpful. If you're already studying at university, speak to your teachers and ask them. Your school also might have some resources or connections in place to help you out. In the UK, the British Archaeological Jobs Resource, also known as Badger, is the best place to look. In the US, the Shovelbums and ACE, Anthropology Careers and Employment websites, are two good places to start if you don't have any other connections. Links to all of these are in the description. It can sometimes take time to get your foot in the door. It took me 5 months when I started in the UK. Don't be discouraged. Keep applying or calling, and eventually you'll get picked up. Sometimes it's all about luck of when you applied or who you know that can help recommend you. The best advice I ever got was to be the first person on site and the last one to leave. Don't be late. Arrive ready to work. Help put the tools away at the end of the day. Commiserate, but don't spend your whole time complaining. All of these small things will end up working to your advantage once you have your first job. Being eager to learn and pick up new skills is always appreciated as well. Keep in mind that it may not be something you end up doing forever. I didn't. Your career might end up going in a direction that you never expected, and that's okay. Working as an archaeologist is not as glamorous as movies or TV make it seem. A lot of the time, it's a hard grind, working in crap weather conditions, covered in mud, excavating a post hole in a field of post holes and ditch features with finding absolutely like nothing significant in terms of artifacts. Finding gold is an extreme rarity, and if you do, you won't get a finder's fee, just bragging rights. Like many people, you might find that after a few years, your knees and joints need you to move on to something else, less physically demanding, and that's okay too. If they're not able to move up into their company into a management position, people often end up transitioning into jobs like teaching, surveying, consultancy, or in my case, marketing. I might not work as an archaeologist anymore, but I truly cherish my memories of that time, and I don't regret any of them or the choices that I made. They were valuable learning experiences and gave me lots of transferable skills I still use today. That's not even to mention all the friends that I've gained along the way. Even after I've stopped working in it, I keep my passion for archaeology alive through this channel, promoting what archaeology does to a wider audience. Hopefully today, I've helped inspire you to take that first step in your archaeological journey, whether it's as a career or a hobby. All right, everyone, time to pack up our finds and hang up our trowels for today. Did you like this video? Has it inspired you to pursue a career in archaeology? Don't forget to comment, like the video, or subscribe to the channel before you leave. If you are feeling extra generous, you can give me a super thanks or go to my Ko-fi page and support me with a small donation. If you're looking for a more tangible return than my eternal gratitude, then have a look at my Redbubble shop and get a sticker, t-shirt, hat, or mug with your favorite archaeology slogan. Taking a few seconds to support me in any way that you can helps grow the channel and promotes quality heritage content that is well-sourced, researched, and presented by somebody who has work experience and relevant qualifications in this subject. It shows the algorithm that people are interested in real archaeology, not clickbait or outlandish theories. Thank you so much for watching. Stay curious, and I hope to see you on my next adventure into the world of archaeology.